From the moment that he first appeared on screen as a demon in black, Darth Vader became the quintessential icon of evil. And yet, the character underwent further development as the trilogy continued. While most of those changes refer to his characterization with regard to the story, it is equally important to focus on the evolution of his visual design. In this video, we'll look at the visual changes he underwent throughout the movies, from his first appearance in Star Wars to his birth in Revenge of the Sith, completing the circle of the tragedy of Darth Vader. It will come as no surprise that he was always in the script in some form. In the first draft, he is pretty insignificant, being described as a tall, grim-looking human general. This script also includes Prince Valorum, a Sith Lord who dresses in black robes. It was a difficult time for George Lucas as Fox hesitated to greenlight the movie. In view of that, he hired conceptual designer Ralph McQuarrie to visualize how things would look. Starting in November 1974, he would draw sketches based on the second draft as requested by Lucas. Its opening sequence is rather similar to that of the final film, with the Empire taking over a rebel starship and Vader facing Jedi Deke Starkiller. Lucas combined him with Valorum from the first draft, presenting a tall Sith dressed in black, but now introducing a respirator mask.
Darth Vader was described as having blasted his way in. His stormtroopers kind of cut a hole in the side of the spaceship and come charging into this hallway. And that's really, in a way, why Darth Vader wears a mask, because I was worried about his health.
It was during this time that McQuarrie drew the earliest depictions of Vader, Deke Starkiller's dark nemesis. Working on breath masks, he took inspiration from the Japanese kabuto and turned the breath mask from the script into a helmet, fully covering his face. He came up with this Google look and dog-like snout, with slots as if they were teeth. This design is likely influenced by the Bedouin warrior from Lawrence of Arabia, a film that Lucas compared Star Wars to in 1973. As McQuarrie kept working on Vader, he toyed with putting him in a full stormtrooper suit to make him more menacing, a design that would influence the Rogue One's Death Trooper. Lucas later instructed him to make further modifications to the armor, so he revisited previous designs but now gave Vader a more science fiction look, even carrying a gun. This cartoonish version was the basis for his portrayal in Rebels. With the designs of the face apparatus in Vader decided, McQuarrie drew and painted the initial duel with Starkiller, which Lucas used to convince the officials at Fox to invest in the movie. And yes, Luke was a girl at some point in the second draft.
Hello, what have we here?
Darth Vader had a minor role in this draft, only appearing in the opening and final sequences. But he became much more prominent in the third one, as Lucas loved his design. His mask was still a functional respirator to breathe in space, so he appears without it in the rest of his scenes, such as when he drinks from a flask while torturing Leia. It was not until the fourth draft that Lucas wrote more of Vader's backstory. As he needed the suit to breathe and to hide his hideous face, he made it a permanent fixture. Costume designer John Mallow translated the McQuarrie sketches into a real costume, with only one suit to be made with a budget of barely $1,000. He made some sketches of his own working from the previous designs, combining the samurai influence with military armor, and even placing some horns in them. The final helmet prop was made of two simple pieces, with scuff marks to show that it was part of the used universe Lucas wanted to portray.
It's very natural in science fiction films for everybody to want to keep everything clean and neat, and I tried to create a world that was lived in and had a sense of realism about it. They were not sets, they were not created, but it's a real ship that people use for a long time. So it's got, everything is like that.
To complete the character of Vader, Lucas focused on how he would sound. For starters, it was obvious to all that he was going to need a new voice.
Start tearing this ship apart piece by piece until you find those tapes. Find the passengers of this vessel. I want them alive!
Commander, tear this ship apart until you found those plans and bring me the passengers. I want them alive!
Sound designer Ben Burt also created a perfect complement to James Earl Jones's voice.
I went to a local dive shop in San Rafael, California, and stuck a small microphone into a scuba regulator and recorded myself breathing through the mask itself. And it was that cold mechanical breathing sound which I recorded, which became the basis for Darth Vader's breathing.
Vader would get a new suit for Episode 5 with upgrades in style and comfort. The space armor from Star Wars evolved into a sophisticated life support device, receiving a subtle makeover with an electronic focus. It was now shin and polished, featuring black lenses instead of dark red. His breastplate was moved on top of the inner robes instead of behind them, and the chest box got working lights and different colored buttons to look more high-tech. It also introduced inscriptions on Aurebesh letters, using Hebrew as a foundation to give it an alien look. But the most significant moment for Vader, from a visual point of view, was his scene in the meditation chamber. At one point in the production, he was to show his full face, but this idea was discarded. Lucas had already decided to make Vader Luke's father, so he gave us only a brief glimpse from behind as a small teaser before the next film.
It was very important in this movie, at this point, for us to realize that Darth Vader was a human being. That he wasn't a robot, he wasn't some kind of monster, he wasn't an alien. Because in the first film, you didn't know what he was, you never saw him. After going through that with Kirsch, he came up really with this thing of having him put his helmet on, which was really nothing more than a setup for the next movie.
Asteroids do not concern me, Admiral. I want that
Ship, not excuses.
The costume was hardly changed for the last installment, though it would reveal the clearest evidence of Anakin's bionic nature. Speaking of revelations, making Vader Luke's father meant that Lucas would redeem and unmask him in the final act. Consequently, he would have to appear to the audience as a sympathetic old man, a task entrusted to the 78-year-old actor Sebastian Shaw, despite Anakin being only in his mid-40s. He was given a new helmet made of 3 pieces instead of the previous 2, designed to emphasize Vader's suffering. The idea of a human and vulnerable character was also achieved by a change in his breathing sound.
We had opted in the first Star Wars film to go with the colder, more mechanical breathing. But when it came to the scene where he's injured and dying and Luke is about ready to remove his helmet, we went back to some of the recordings I had made of the very raspy, labored kind of breathing, which worked well here.
Vader's eyebrows were digitally removed for the 2004 DVD release to match Anakin getting burned on Mustafar. His eyes were also changed to blue to better resemble Hayden Christensen, and his skin tone was altered to make him more pale.
The key missing piece of Episode 3, which everybody's always wanted to see, which is the return of Anakin Skywalker in the suit.
When it came to the making of Anakin's transformation, Lucas intended to emphasize the pain he'd have to endure for the rest of his life. One way he accomplished it was by placing us inside the helmet for the first time, designed to hint that it was painful to wear, with pointy objects poking Vader as they interact with him. Lucas made a difficult decision on how to visually portray the suit. Despite taking place before A New Hope, he chose the more cybernetic design of its 2 sequels, but with some slight changes. For example, the breastplate was placed on top of his robes, a hallmark of the Empire suit. The chest box, however, shows features seen in both Star Wars and Empire. The mask was made symmetrically for the first time ever, with a 3D printer to fit its new owner. And it was placed underneath the breastplate, instead of overlapping on top as in the original trilogy.